Hello and welcome back to the FA-18 flight school campaign, I guess, that I've been working on. This is the mission for the final Checkride, and I'm kind of combining. I have a lesson that I did before this that is basically the same thing, so I'm just going to combine this video into one because it's the lesson 6 is going to be a navigation review to kind of take you through everything one more time. And then lesson 7 is the Checkride for the navigation block of the training, and that will close out the first portion of the course. So if you're just jumping into the videos now, I am in the process of trying to create a comprehensive zero experience to fully ready to go out and do stuff in the field training program to help new pilots get all the way up and actually be, useful people out there in the field. And I'm making this because I'm not. And I couldn't find any program out there, any campaign out there that would take you through a training process to kind of get you ready. So rather than wait for someone else to do it, I'm trying to create one myself. That being said, I have gone through so far. This is lesson number 7. So, you can go back and watch the other videos to find out what happened with those. In all those other videos I've actually flown through the missions, but for this one, there's very little audio for you to hear, so you don't need to listen to the instructions to see the details there, because all this has is it just tells you to do something. It just tells you to do some things. So we're going to go through it with the mission editor, so you can kind of see how the Checkride is put together, so you can see what the thought process is, because right now I'm putting this together and I'm really looking for feedback. Feedback, especially from people who have a lot of flight experience in DCS. So let me know if you can think of anything that would help pilots, or if I missed something or something was wrong or anything like that. I'm definitely looking for positive reinforcing feedback. So the Checkride starts out with you at Vatsiani. You're going to be parked. Oh yeah, I got to fix that while I'm thinking about it. You are going to be parked cold. Let's see, take off from ramp. Parking number 1. Okay. And then I gotta fix this while I'm thinking about it. Okay. And then he's gonna be okay. Come on, fix it. Get on there. Do it. Thank you. Okay. So you start out at parking spot 1 at Vatsiani. The goal of the navigation portion so far is to get it to where you can enter your own navigation points in, your own waypoints, navigate off of radio signals, and then use the TACAN to get on the radio back to the runway and come in for landings. And we've also been practicing the case 1 procedure. So all of that has been kind of incorporated into this final test. So you take off from the runway. These triggers will come in at the end of the mission, so we ignore those for now. You take off, you fly through waypoint 1 all the way through waypoint 4, which is over here. And waypoint 4 has conditions set on it so that you have to fly through all of these. You don't necessarily have to fly through them in order. You should, because you would waste a bunch of time going around and doing it in zigzag kind of thing. But it assumes that the test assumes that you're trying to complete the test seriously. So you fly to waypoint 1, it marks that you completed that, marks it, and then if you get to waypoint 4 and you have all 3 of these done, it will mark your waypoint segment of the test complete. Then you tune into the VOR station here, you fly towards that, and you'll know just as in the lesson, once you fly over it, the little marker will swing around behind you, and the trigger zone will pick up here. So if you've completed the waypoint section and then you go to the VOR, you get a pass. You can continue the test. Both of these triggers are set up so that this one is set up so that if you miss one of the waypoints, it automatically fails your Checkride and it stops you right there. If you go to the VOR without completing all 4 of the waypoints, it stops your Checkride and ends you right there. So assuming you're doing everything correctly, you pass over the VOR station, you head off in this direction to line up with the radial coming off of Vatsiani using your TACAN and the course setting and all that cool stuff that you got taught in a previous lesson. You come in for your landing, you're instructed to do a case 3 approach where you descend to 3,000 feet. Once you're 10 miles out, you start doing the multiply by 3 rule. If you know what that is, you know what that is. If you don't, you can go back and watch the lesson on that. I have a switch here that tells you to switch to case 1 once it's very clear that you're within visual approach, because we don't need to do a case 3 landing all the way in. You just need to show that you know how to approach the carrier later on when that happens. So you're instructed at this point to switch to a case 1 landing. You shift over to the right. You do your braking turn. This zone here detects that you're not cheating and just trying to come in for a landing. So you need to come out over here to do your landing and come back in. So you fly off to the right to do your visual check of the runway. You activate. You advance the next step in the test to show that you're actually executing the case 1 approach. You bring your case 1 approach around. And all of the missions for the rest of the entire course until you go out to the carrier will have this section in it. This is a trigger zone that activates these trigger zones, all 4 of these trigger zones, so that we can detect if you landed short, you landed good, or you landed long, or you completely missed the carrier because, you just went way too far. Now, I know if you have any kind of experience landing on the carrier, you're gonna think, oh man, these zones are huge. Yeah, they're huge, but they're also meant to kind of just give new people an approximation of starting to become accurate of hitting a specific spot. We're not trying to grind them up at the beginning. We're just trying to get them into the habit of successfully completing case 1 approaches, getting comfortable with it, and then just, slowly getting closer and closer to that number 13 right there. Again, if you are looking at this and you're like, why are the zones pushed forward so hard? It's because the system doesn't always catch when you enter a zone right away. You might drift forward a little bit before it finally tries to detect where you are. So I had to set these up so that if you land here and you roll forward a little bit before it finds you, you still get a good trap or whatever. So I did a bunch of extensive testing, timing all of this out, and pretty much if you land past the onto the asphalt, you're going to get a good trap. If you land in the grass, you're going to get a bad trap. There's a little wiggle room in there, but for the most part, it seems to work. So basically, as long as you do all the steps in order, and then you switch to the case 1, you do your case 1 approach, and then you hit a good trap. Basically for this one, you need a good trap to pass the test. You have to get a good trap trigger to be able to do it. If you don't, you need to go around. I've also made it so that the short landing simulates crashing into the carrier, and that's an automatic failure. That will end the mission right then and there. You're done. You have to try again. Good trap will succeed the mission. You can stop. You can go back to parking and shut down, and that's a good trap. And then going back to parking and properly shutting down your aircraft is the only way to complete the check ride. If you do a bolter or you miss the carrier completely, I have allowed it so that you can go around and try again as many times as you need to until you run out of fuel. But so I know I'm stuttering a little bit because it's a lot of information to try to convey at one time, but hopefully you're kind of getting it. So the basic idea is that I have it set up so that as long as you hit all of your waypoints, you hit the VOR. I'm not even being super strict on the case 3 approach. Just as long as you get on the radio, as long as you get to the airport, I'm going to assume that you did some kind of case 3 approach. Because if you're going to spend the time to do the training and you're not going to do it right, then that's on you, man. The training is provided. You've been shown how to do it. You're given the information in the mission briefing that you need to get all of that done. You're given all the waypoints. You're given the VOR frequency. You're given the TACAN and even the radial. You're even given the radial you need to get off. So, it's up to the person doing the training to decide if they're actually going to do the case 3 approach right. But I wanted to be relatively strict on the case 1 approach because, that's the part that gets you onto the carrier during the day. You'll have the ILS to help you on the case 3 approach, and if you can follow the lines, then you'll get down, and then that's pretty much it. But the hard part for most carrier operations is just getting around the carrier over here, getting lined up properly before you cross overhead of it, and getting down on that small little patch. So hopefully all of that makes sense to you guys. I did want to make a video showing that there is progress being made. I'm basically done with the Block 1 navigation part of the training, but I do need to go back and just do a lot of quality control. I need to play through each of the missions a few times just so I can see what things are right, what things are wrong, typos, audio cues that aren't correct, or they don't match the text, just a bunch of perfectionist kind of things that people are going to notice if I don't fix them now. So I'm trying to fix those now. But the course itself is basically complete. And as I said, the mission that came before this is exactly the same mission. It's just there's a little bit more instruction from the instructor as you're flying around. So that's the only difference between lesson 6 versus the actual test. And the other difference is the fourth waypoint is different. In the practice, you go to Batumi. This waypoint here is actually at Batumi, and then you fly to the VOR. I switched it up at the end because the first 3 waypoints in each of these is exactly the same, which is kind of like a fake out. It's kind of like a fake out because it makes it so that if they start to realize, oh, these are all the same waypoints, and then they get lazy and just and they don't pay attention to the 4th waypoint, then they end up missing it. So I have to imagine if you're taking it seriously and you're just entering the waypoints in, you're not going to screw it up. But some people are going to do that. So I was like, let me just switch it up for the last one. So hopefully there are no questions about what the test is. It basically covers every navigational thing that you need to know in the game. You've been taught each of the concepts extensively up to this point, and you should be able to take off, fly the waypoints, do the radio navigation all the way back, land with a case 1 landing, and that's it. So that's the test, and I will confirm yet again that until we get out to the actual carrier quals, I'm going to leave these zones in, all of these zones on the runway in, so that at the very least you get some kind of grade when you land to just keep it in your mind. Oh yeah, I got to do this. And I'll probably leave this pattern detect here to force you to have to do the carrier, the case 1 recovery to finish the mission. Because the whole idea is to just make you do recovery after recovery after recovery after recovery every time you do a mission, so that by the time we get to block 4 and you start doing the carrier operations, it's basically muscle memory by then. So I know that was a lot. I know for a lot of people that was probably really boring. Hopefully you hung with me until the end. Hopefully some people will have some feedback to help me make this better. I do want to create a product that is useful to people because it's a lot of work and I really want to sell it. So sorry for those of you who are looking for a free thing. I'd love to be able to give it away for free. I might give away the navigation block for free as a shareware kind of thing. But that really just depends on, what methods of distributing the product become available to me as I get closer to finishing this. So sorry for those of you who are looking for something free, but it's a lot of work. Even just doing all of this is just a lot of work, hours and hours and hours of work to get this done. And especially if I'm trying to put out something that's, hopefully professional quality, you're going to have to pay a little bit for it. I'm sorry. So it won't be any more than what the other missions on like Steam and stuff are for the entire package. It won't be any more than that, but it's a lot of work. So I know I'm rambling. Hopefully you got something out of that. Be sure to click the like button if you think that any of this is useful. Be sure to leave some feedback in the comments so that I can make this product better for you. Subscribe to the channel so you can keep track of this whole process as we go. And I do have a Patreon if you'd like to support me to help me kind of focus on this a little bit more. Motivation helps. Again, thank you very much for your time, and I will see you for the next one.